Hello and welcome back to MindMed. We are doing mindful and physical therapy based work here. We're building strength, we're challenging our bodies, we're building stability, but always with a specific focus and mindful and medical instruction. Today's focus is on the hips, hip impingement, tight hip flexors, and we're trying to strengthen them in a way not to trigger them, to leave them alone really, so that you're not left with discomfort and pain. Let's get started. I have 2 weights, 10 pounds each. You choose whatever you've got, whatever suits you. Let's start on the mat on all fours. So bring your knees a little further apart than hip width, so you get some space in your hips. Oftentimes, a tight position on all fours and also in a child pose might create some impingement in your hip if you're prone to that. So just a little wider a position might already help you to just not get in the area where your joint gets compromised. And that might also help you not to build tension in the muscles around the joint in the hip flexors. So let's go back and forth, warming up our bodies, breathing through. Gently flexing, making sure you feel comfortable there, and then also opening. Now you want to activate your abs, activate your pelvic floor, get your core ready for work. Engage with your breath and feel it in your whole body. Switch on all the sensors, all the fibers in your body to be present. Just one more. And then bring the left foot forward and go on the toes of the back foot to open here in a lunge. Now you want to be careful in that front leg and the front hip to fold but not tense up, really helping with that right hand so you can open through the right but not compromise the front. Maybe go a little wider if that helps you to create more space and avoid impingement. And then switch. Let's take the right foot forward, maybe a little wider, on the toes, on the back foot. And stretch out, gentle in the front, making space, opening through your left hip. And then come back. Walk yourself back onto your feet. Place them nicely in a hip to shoulder width distance, leaning over your legs. And then clasp your hands behind the back. We're doing full body here. So we're opening the shoulders and we're letting go of the head and the arms, stretching the back of the legs. And inhale here. And on the exhale, let go of the arms and slowly roll up. Lifting up tall, inhale. And then exhale, rolling down. And then walk forward and onto your weights here. So you're in a plank on the weights, feeling the length through your hips now. I want to activate my glutes to not sink into the front of the hip. So I have a co-contraction around the joint. The glutes really help stabilizing the hip joint so the hip flexors aren't overwhelmed. And then I'm just gonna tap down with my knees. So this is abs on and the glutes on, and push back. And tap down light on the hip flexors. A lot of glute and ab work. So you try to distribute evenly between them, not to just depend on the hip flexors. And meanwhile, you want to pull your face off the mat. You want to elongate through your neck. Micro bend your elbows. Check on the lower back. Widen through your shoulder blades. Breathe through it. Last 4. Glutes on, open the hips. 3. Long through your thighs. 2. And 1. And then knees down and just sit yourself back. Reach here. Again, not too close with your knees. You want to have space. This should not feel tight, not pinchy in the hips at all. Maybe you want to keep your hips a little higher, your pelvis. If this is better for you, stay here and take a breath here. And then let's get back into that plank. And now we're going to transfer over to the left. We're going to pull the elbow, push all the way up. So you want to open through the hip, open through the shoulder, and then bring it back. Down and up. Push. Push into the floor, up to the ceiling, and into the mat, and up. We got shoulder work. You want to lengthen through the hips. So my left hip is now in charge. I need my glutes on. I want my abs, my obliques to support. So I'm not only relying on the hip. Glutes are strong to support as I get into that side plank. 4 more. 3. Of course, you can do this without the weight if it's too much. 2. And 1. And let's switch to the other side. Reaching up high. Pushing down into the mat, lifting off and reach. And push, making sure you keep that right elbow micro bent, keeping it stable, push. And 4 more. I'm keeping my hip, my right hip nice and open, the glutes on, my abs on. Last 2. And last 1. And the knees down, wide, and pull back. Reaching through a long back, a long neck, dropping your tailbone all the way down and away. And then come back. Now all 4s, your toes tucked under. Inhale. And on your exhale, lift from your abs. So try to not have too much on the quads and the hip flexors, but you really want to pull from the abs, almost kind of being lazy in the legs. Keeping your spine neutral though. And lift, exhale. And inhale. And lift, exhale. Now lifting off the mat, your head, your chest, your sternum, your ribs, everything feeling suspended and lifted. The abdominal wall pulling into your back. Now you want to engage glutes without clenching. Give them a gentle squeeze, as if holding on to that whole pelvic girdle. And then stay up there, and then pump with your arms. And again, you want to feel light and easy in your hips, very active in the core. And pump, pump, pump. Keep it going. Breathe through it. And 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stepping the feet forward, and then just hang here for a moment. Releasing. Now bend your knees. Now you want to engage your glutes, your back extensors, your abs. Take away some pressure from your hips so you're not sitting in the joint, but you're already really active all the way around to take over and then find your flat back here. Just that. And see if you can regulate in your hips. And then down. And exhale, glutes, abs, back extensors, pushing the feet down. And see if you can get up into a flat back without tensing up the hip flexors. And inhale. Exhale. Nice prep. Lots of back work. Shoulders are pulling back. And then release, regulating your hips. And come up. And regulating. Feel big toe base, small toe base. Heels pressing down. Really strong in the legs. Easy in the hips. And exhale. Shoulders. Long back. Very strong back work, glute work, hamstrings. We'll have 4 more. And then bring it all the way up. And now bring those weights to your chest. And we're doing squats. So now working from the top, but also with that sense of real strength from the feet all the way up. A ton of glutes. So when the hip flexors are tight, we also know that the glutes aren't working quite as much as they should. And no matter what was first, we do want to strengthen glutes without tightening up the hip flexors, which can be challenging. And some of the clam work, which really is targeted to strengthen the glutes, can just really aggravate the tension and pain in the hip flexors once you're there. So really try to find ways to activate your glutes, which isn't triggering the hip flexors. Inhale. And then exhale, push away from the ground, working the weight. And the glutes give your hips a chance to open up. So as you come up here, you want to open and almost kind of push forward a little bit, creating space in your hips. Widen your toes. Feel the toe pads touching down, nice and soft, without gripping the floor, but feeling the energy. Nine more. Working the space very hard. 8. Check in with abs and pelvic floor. 7. Upper back is strong, neck is long. And 6. You decide how far down you can go. 5, without getting too much in the zone of discomfort. And 4. 3. Last 2. Last 1. And then release. Take a side bend to one side, just hang. And to the other side, releasing our shoulders. And now into a lunge position, which is just giving you a little more opening here, so a little wider a stance than a hip width. And then we're also gonna distribute the weight so that you don't feel like you're sitting too much in the front. If that is your side, you have to take care of. So just give it that bend to be active in glutes and in the legs. And then we're doing a bicep curl with that nice activity in the legs. And we're gonna play with the back heel and reaching it back and lifting and reaching it back. So we get that opening through the right hip. And open. Making sure both sides, glutes, buttocks are active. And be aware of the front hip. Making sure not to accumulate too much tension there. Four more. 3. 2. And 1. And then switch sides. A bit of a wider lunge position. Distributing the weight between the front and the back. Feeling easy in the hips. And then bicep curl. And play with that back heel. Opening. And lift and push the heel back. Using your breath, opening your shoulders, lengthening your neck, create space. Activate some extra core as it gets harder on the biceps. Really working into a stable and strong posture. Last 4. 3. 2. And 1. And then release. And inhale here. And then exhale, just roll down gently all the way down, and inhale at the bottom. Just playing around with your hips, just loosening them up. Be very gentle and easy. Let them feel good. And then extend your back, picking up the weight, coming back up. Now into a forward bend, making sure you find an angle where you're not gripping in the hip flexors, where you can still feel the gravity having an effect on your back extensors. And then you want to row. And if it means that you might have to take a bigger step, bigger distance apart here, go ahead, find your spot for your hips to feel at ease and not compromise, not pinching, so that you can work your upper back, the back of the shoulders. And we'll have 10, 9, 8, 7, regulate your hips, 6, glutes on 5, abs in 4, pelvic floor 3, 2, and 1, and release. And we're gonna go into a turned out situation in the back leg, a lunge position. Right hand to the hip, and now I'm gonna just lean into that front leg, and I'm gonna push with a lean and come back and push. So you want to open through the back hip and only go as far in the front as you don't feel compromised. Also, you have some turnout, which might help to keep it open, to not feel pinched. So working the right leg and the left shoulder, some side core, lots of glute work to support, ab work to support. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, navel in, 4, recap on the glutes, 3, 2, 1. Switching around, turning towards the other side. Rest that left hand and weight on your waist. Let's get ready. Now leaning in and pushing up. Working your core, your side core, the shoulder, keeping the shoulders centered. And work that left leg, glutes. And we'll have 10 more. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and release. Now keep the legs straddled and inhale. And on your exhale, fold forward, bend the knees a little bit. And just slowly, slowly, slowly go down and then bring it back up. Just a slight bend in the knees. Forward, 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 fold in the hips. Feel those glutes and hamstrings. Check in if you've got space, if your hip flexors are happy, and just let them feel good along the way. We're doing back work, we're doing glute work, we're doing hamstrings work. Make sure to integrate your neck. Keep breathing. Stay in your body. Keep scanning through to create awareness, to create experience and intensity. Your workout is so much more effective if you can really be tuned in, if you can work the space, if you can work your own resistance, if you can be present. And since you're spending the time anyway, you might as well be present and effective. And last one. And then zig, zag, zig, zag, zig, zag. Inhale. Exhale, roll down your spine. Bending the knees just a little bit. And then we're gonna sit down on the mat, making sure we've got space. And inhale, holding on to the weights. And then exhale, try to have heavy legs. And then slowly rolling down. Make sure you got the space for your knees, because we want to open the arms and then let the knees go side to side. And here you want to be mindful of your hips, to open them, not to pinch, create impingement with too much internal rotation. So really go where it feels nice. Follow your instinct, follow comfort in the joint. Because if there is impingement, it doesn't get better by going there, stretching into it, pushing into it, but quite the opposite. Leaving it alone, letting the inflammation heal, letting it pass, and then you can slowly increase range of motion again. And meanwhile, we're gonna activate a ton of glutes and abs. So we're going to get those weights back and put them on the pelvis and inhale. The feet in a shoulder width distance, and inhale. Exhale, push up and inhale down. And exhale, push. So simple hip press with some weights on your pelvis to get your glutes going. So a lot of gluteus maximus. We'll do 10 more. So try to feel that opening through the hip while working your glutes, your hip extensors, which again are going to inhibit, are going to calm down your hip flexors as their antagonists. Last 4. Lengthen through the neck, open the shoulders. Last 2. And 1. And then inhale here. Keeping the legs where they are, and exhale. And inhale, working the abs. Now, can you keep your hip flexors at ease? Can you relax them as you do your crunch? And then work even more range of motion with the arms as you're going overhead. And then choose the right moment to actually lift the head, depending on how much intensity you'd like to have in your abs and in your neck flexors. The earlier, the more challenging, the more effective your weight is. Now deepen the abs, you want to flatten them and try to release your hips, keeping the pelvis in a neutral, so no tucking. Last two. And then leaving your hip flexors, resting, the feet down. The abs are on though. We're going to just do a press. And now use the time to flatten the abs, to pull them in, keeping a neutral spine, length through your neck. Deepening the abs. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now hands together, lifting the legs up. Now we have the heels together to activate some inside thighs and divert from your hip flexors. Now we get inside thighs and pelvic floor, bend into a tricep extension. Extend forward and bend. Abs are on. Feel the turnout. So glutes, gluteus medius, rotators in your hip. And try to lead away from hip flexors into glutes and abs, into inside thigh, pelvic floor. Nine, 8, flattening your stomach. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then just bring the weights over your legs, over your shins. See if this feels okay in your hips, or weights down and a little wider to just rock side to side. So in this position, you just want to relax. You want to have space in the hip. There's no point in pulling anywhere where you feel pinching. So try to figure it out. Try to get to know your body. Try to learn about what feels good and what doesn't feel good, not to trigger. And then bring the feet down. The weights out of the way for now, the hands behind the head. And then we're just gonna go into a cross crunch to the left side. Now see if you can keep it relaxed here. A simple exercise, very challenging though, to keep your pelvis in the neutral and not to grip in your hip flexor. And maybe you discover a pattern that every time you do your crunches, you're actually gripping involuntarily. So maybe there's things to find out and to tackle to give your hip flexors some rest. Last two. And then same to the other side. Use your exhale to deepen. Make it deep, but stay neutral in the lower back. Make that your challenge. We'll have 4 more. And then release down, the arms next to you, and now roll up into a bridge, the feet firm on the mat. And you just want to elongate here, create space, elongate through your thighs. Inhale, exhale, slowly down, vertebra by vertebra. And then take a figure 4 and a stretch for your glutes and opening through the hips. Take as much time as you need. Hit pause if you need to. Switch to the other side. Using that external rotation will help you to increase your stretch. And then both feet down, and I'm going to hook my hands, thumb and index, and I'm going to push away here. I'm going to really get length into the hip joint. So as if pulling the ball out of the socket, I'm just going to push my arms down. That should feel rather nice. You might feel it more in the hips, or you might feel it more in the lower spine, which isn't wrong either. Maybe you just get a traction there and some space between your vertebrae. And you, again, spend as long as you'd like. You can do this intermittently too. And then I'll just give you one more idea here to play around with your hip. Doing little circles. And reverse them very gently. And really taking care of that leg with your arms. Spending more time, whoever wants to. Other side, nice and gentle. And it's all about how you do these things, being mindful, finding out where to go, finding out what your body likes, what makes it feel better. This is all we want. We want to listen to our bodies and work in the zone that is welcome. And then come back. Soles of the feet together, and then just feel that opening. Just rocking side to side. And then turning over to one side into a cross-legged. Grounding the sit bones down, reaching up, inhale. And bring in all the good things for the rest of your day, wherever you are, whatever you do. Thank you so much for joining. I hope this helps. Hit follow and like if you liked it, and I'll see you soon.